So Zon, you know how they always say, oh, young Christians get married for sex. Did you get married for sex?
Oh, definitely.
Hi guys! Welcome back to another video. My name is Zhara.
And I'm Xaundre.
And this is the next episode of
Adventures of XYZ.
I've been asked over and over again. And sometimes I don't understand why people ask. But anyways, if
People
you're
are a little crazy sometimes.
Yeah.
They'll walk up to you and just be like, don't you think you got married a little too young?
People asking that?
Yes.
Like randomly?
Yes.
Oh wow.
Definitely.
Anyways, if you're new here, this is your place for clean Christian content where we have conversations that we just don't have in church. So you can go ahead and click the subscribe button.
Definitely, and the like button.
And share with a friend because everybody needs to be here.
There's one more.
Which one? Comment.
And comment. You know. Let us know what you think about the videos.
All of the YouTube things them. Do all of the YouTube things them. Share upon your wall and share on your wall and all of that jazz. But yeah, so we tackled the question today's on.
Yeah.
Why did we get married?
Why did we get married so young?
You think you got married young? I don't think we got married young.
I don't think it was young either.
Yeah.
But by international standards, it's comparatively young. So let's see what Google says about it. What is the average age for marriage?
Today, the average marriage age is 32 years old according to the Wedding Wire Newlywed Report.
And we got married at 24 years old, so technically
we are
below the average age. So I guess you could say it's a little bit young. But you know, I'm inclined to believe that there is a significant difference between getting married young and a hasty marriage.
Yeah.
They're two different things, really.
For sure.
We got married comparatively young, but we definitely did not have a hasty marriage.
I mean, you've been around for a long time. For those who don't know our story, if you're not familiar, you can check out all of the stories. There's a whole playlist. There's a wedding. There are videos. We'll drop them down below in the description box just so you can get a little background of our story.
So it's early in terms of, or we're young in terms of the average being 32 and we're just 24 years old. But since we've been dating for almost 10 years, basically. You know,
long time from what I did with me.
Yeah.
Hey, a long time about, you know. Remember what? I remember
Inserts picture of back in the day.
No, I remember the days on.
Yo, there was a time that I was so small that people would look at me and wonder if I'm in like first form. At the time I was in like maybe fourth form or so.
Yeah.
And Zhara was the hot girl, you know. So you were the hot girl and I was the nerd. So when you see the two of us together, it was a little bit odd looking.
I wasn't that hot looking back. In the moment, nobody could have said to me I wasn't hot. But looking back, I was just as nerdy as you were. Maybe not as nerdy, but anyways, let's stick to the point.
So the point is, we've been together for a while.
Yeah.
And there are a number of reasons we don't necessarily think our marriage was hasty. First of all, we went through all the stages. We were friends, then we were no longer friends, but then, we were always friends, to be honest, but there were times when she was really annoyed at me, but she never really stopped being, in my opinion, my best friend, you know. And
where's the mush, guys? The mush.
No, but I mean, it's true though, guys. I mean,
best
when you land somebody like this, you don't really say bye.
Best friends forever.
So even like our friends from Advil, they probably wouldn't know. Like at the time, they would have seen us as friends, but they wouldn't have known that, you know, we had a history. And then when they saw us starting to get back together, they wouldn't even think that, you know, it's coming from somewhere deeper. They really thought it was new. And but if you knew us from high school, you know it's been a while.
If you know, you know.
Yeah, and it was on and off.
Yeah.
But cumulatively it would have come up to around 10 years actually.
So it wasn't hasty. That's what you say.
Right. So it wasn't hasty, and we went through all the phases because we dated and then we courted for a while. I had to actively pursue her again, or re-pursue her. Still remember that first date, and she said to me, listen, you're not just walking back in, alright? You're going to have to pursue me again.
Like I said, it's not a Nintendo game. You don't just press play.
Yeah, you don't just press pause when you want and then press play when you're ready. But go and watch those videos for that story. But what I will say though, guys, is that it was a very thoughtful move, you know. We prayed about it for a very long time, and we were impressed by God that this is the move that we were supposed to make. So it's not that we just met each other at 23 and then we decided, you know, 6 months later that we were going to just get married. That wasn't it.
Exactly, because you can't have a hasty marriage and be 35 and be 40. And I think a hasty marriage would be something that, we also got counseling. We got counseling. We got pre-engagement counseling. We got premarital counseling, because when we started thinking about, I guess we could get married, we went to our pastor and we sat down and we spoke to him, and we realized that pre-engagement is something that's not as popular, but I think it really helped us because it helped to set us in a good direction.
As a matter of fact, guys, if you want to hear some more about pre-engagement counseling and what that entails, probably a little bit of what we learned there, drop us a comment. Just say pre-engagement counseling. Let's tally that up and see if it's worth us doing a video on.
Exactly. A question. What would a hasty marriage look like? Like, for example.
Oh, I've seen it. I've seen it. You meet each other today. By next week, all day, every day, you and the guy going out together, or you and the girl going out together, and all of a sudden, in the same room all day, all night, and then in about 6 months' time, we hear that you're getting married, and the wedding is in 2 weeks, and we're
6 months, but people can fall in love in 6 months, babe.
No, that's fine, and I mean, it's not the time that necessarily matters. It's the principle that you're doing everything at a supposedly expedited rate, but what you're actually doing is skipping out important steps. You don't meet the parents yet, you don't spend time with the family, you have no idea what this person is like outside of the settings that you have consistently seen them in. You know, you haven't spoken to the person's friends, you haven't gone to visit the person's home church, none of these things have happened, and all of a sudden you think you know the person and you're ready to get married. You know, I'm not saying that there aren't
disagreement.
You've never seen how the person blows up. You know, like, all those things are important, and some of these things really do take quite a lot of time to kind of unfold. And I'm not saying that you can't have a godly marriage that takes place in 6 months. You know, that's not what I'm saying. I wanted to make
sure that we clarify that it's not necessarily
about the time.
It's not necessarily about the time. It's more about, have you gone through certain steps?
Yeah. And one of the biggest steps that we would recommend, it's something that's not commonly done, but we definitely would recommend it: pre-engagement counseling. The moment you're thinking that maybe I want to propose to this person, or you know, I feel like now would be a good time for him to propose to me, whatever it is, you know, that's the time that you guys both need to go and sit down and talk to your pastor perhaps, or some other godly counselor, and see if you can get a word from them. Because honestly, guys, like, sometimes you can be really blinded.
Love is blind.
Yeah, and especially when sex gets involved.
Yes.
Like we've seen it happen to friends of ours, and you know, thankfully nobody that's really close to me, so like it never really like hurt me
impacted that much.
But like I've seen it with a few like a bit more distant friends. I've just seen them tumbling head first going down the hill.
Really, Ahmed. Really,
I am just
Ahmed.
like, how can you not see that you are making a dumb decision?
Because man turn you in a yamhead, and yamhead translation. A yamhead is when a man turn you into an idiot and you can't recognize it, but everybody else can recognize it. You are making exceptions for somebody who does not have your best interest at heart, and you just look like a yamhead.
You learned that on
Adventures of XYZ.
No. You learned that on Zhara TV. That's right.
Yeah, that's on their church, girl.
Yeah, you learned that somewhere.
Period. Poo. Don't let anybody take you for a yamhead.
Yeah, the yamhead thing not cute, guys.
Yeah, but the point was that sex can really cloud your judgment.
Yeah.
So Zon, you know how they always say, "Oh, young Christians get married for sex." Did you get married for sex?
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely.
Chicka boom boom, chicka boom boom.
And guys, no. Like, we got married for sex. but not just for sex.
Exactly.
You know? But it was definitely a component. I mean, and some people going to come and say, you know, come over Jesus internet with your heathen self. But you're getting married for sex. That's so un-Christ-like. Well, first of all, if you're gonna tell me that a perfectly functioning young man is gonna look at this beautiful woman that I am madly in love with,
Stop it.
and want to express my love to, and then tell me that there's something wrong with me asking her hand in marriage,
this is too much for
so that we can, you know, proceed with the Lord's plans. But anyway, guys, I mean, I'm not saying that once you want to have sex with somebody, go and get married to them. No, obviously it had a series of steps, but we really just reached the point where the next step was marriage.
Exactly.
Like, we were dating intentionally.
Yeah.
We knew, and it's a decision that we made from early on out, that if you're going to date somebody, you're going to date with the ultimate intention of perhaps getting married to this person.
Exactly.
You date to find out if somebody is like,
if somebody is
worthy of becoming your future spouse, or if you are compatible with that person. Maybe not worthy, but compatible with that person. And when we realized our compatibility and we were out of school and we were about to create a future, like, why create my future and you create your future when we can create a future together? And we knew that we wanted to be together. But anyway, that's my thought. Did you get married for sex?
I mean, it was a part of it. And I don't think that we should act like it wasn't a part of it, because I also got married for companionship. I got married for God's plan. I got married for ministry and mission. So yes, sex is one of the dimensions, and I think sometimes, especially people in the world, they paint it as such a negative thing. But the truth is that they have the freedom to live that lifestyle, and you guys can tell me the freedom, and you guys can relate, because it's something that's very active in our culture, that you can live with somebody, you can be sexually active with a person, you can be paying bills with a person, you can be buying car, furniture, house, land, everything, and you're not married, based on what your values are.
And perhaps, you know, maybe we need to do some research on it before we make a bold statement, but I'm inclined to believe that the reason the average is 32 is not because people weren't cohabiting before they were 32 years old. It's just that a lot of people may have been cohabiting and sharing a lot of their intimate details and even sexual intimacy.
Yeah, definitely.
Long before that. But to us, marriage is an important institution. Like, we take very seriously the institution of marriage, and we don't think it's okay for you to live like you're married when you're not really married. Not questioning your life choices.
But for us,
you know, it wasn't okay for us.
Yeah.
And based on our convictions. So we thought that the next best step, or the best next step, would be for us to get married.
Yeah, and I love that you brought out the fact that that's what we wanted to do, because I know that some people might watch this and they're Christians.
Yeah.
And it might seem weird. I know it might seem weird that, you know, this is our norm, because the truth is we kind of are in a bubble.
That's true.
So when people say stuff like, oh, you got married early, we're like, eh?
But then we have that friend
and then that friend,
and the one that just got married.
And then we went to our wedding last week.
And we have a next one coming up. And all of us kind of went to school together.
Yes. So it's not weird for us. But I can imagine that people who aren't Christians and people who don't grow up in like our space or have the type of friends that we have, it's weird for them.
And now that you said that, babe, the truth is, you know, guys, the people who kept on asking me if I'm sure I'm not too young
are not the people in our bubble.
They aren't really the people in our bubble. They aren't the people who see marriage as the thing you do when you're ready to settle down with somebody. No, they see marriage as the thing you do when you have your house and your car and your career going full swing, and you finish try out all the things and people that you want to try out. and I mean, that's fine if that's you.
That's not us.
That's not us.
Yeah.
You know?
And I mean, as Christians, we really valued what this union could do for our spiritual lives as individuals, and we really valued what God thought of how we were interacting. And of course, you're with somebody, you're going to want to interact with them more. So Zon, what were our, so we spoke about like those other things, what were our real reasons for getting married?
The first and most important reason for us is that God said so.
Won't he do it?
Honestly, like, I prayed about it in my personal prayers. Zhara prayed about it in her personal prayers. And then we prayed about it together, and we just knew that it was the most logical next step, you know, like we saw it coming. And God just told us, each of us individually, you know, that it's time now to progress towards that. And as a matter of fact, when I started to get the inclination that that's what God is saying, I approached Zhara with, you know, conversations in that direction. Realized where her headspace was, that she was also thinking along those lines. So, you know, when I went down on my one knee and creased my shoe, I knew I wasn't going to get a no, because we already kind of had an idea that that's where we headed, and we had spoken to God individually about it. And then, you know, after the proposal, then we were very frank with each other about our desires and intentions, and we prayed about it and got married.
Exactly. So if you are also young and you're wondering if, you know, is this a hasty marriage or is this just a young marriage, talk to God about it.
Yeah, definitely.
God will send the right people to you. He will send those who can speak some sense into you if that's what you need. He will give you additional counseling and he will direct you. And I think so often when it comes to this era of our lives, we try to figure it out because we think that, oh, our spiritual life is separate from our romantic life and God don't understand and stuff like that. And I think also we can add that God said so, and we were both on a similar spiritual path, so we weren't unequally yoked. We were yearning after the same things. We wanted the same type of growth. And that's why when the guy did tell me in university, a guy came up to me. Them time then I have on them, you know, them say you have the LNG white hairstyle, or your ear part in a two, and your hair kind of cornrow. It was a study time, I can't forget. This guy came, alright, it's like, you guys know what I'm talking when you hear part in the middle and you twist it, you flat twist it back, right? It's kind of like a Christian hairstyle. Back in the day, you know, say a Christian girl used to have that, and I had on a long skirt. So apparently that day I was looking a little bit more traditional Christian, right? This guy comes up to me and he says how God sent him over here for him to be my husband. And like, you know, my head messes, so oh, God tell you and God tell me. Because if God is going to tell you something about somebody else, he's gonna also make it clear to the other person.
Yeah, definitely.
There will be no like gray areas, and you're not going to have to question him and ask him. You know, I'm not so sure, because if somebody going to come to you and say God send them, God will tell you too. God not going to send one person, because it's not a one-sided decision. Exactly. So I think it's important that we add that aspect of it.
When we got the good Christian counsel, it was in keeping with this decision. And note well, guys, that's a good Christian counsel, because not all advice is created equally. And when somebody give you advice, ask yourself, is that person in a position that I'd like to be? If the answer is no, then maybe take that advice with a ton of salt. Because if you could make that decision for yourself and end up in a place that I think I would want to be, then I don't know that I want you to make that decision for me.
Facts.
But, you know, I don't mean to be rude to anybody or anything, but the reality of it is that you can't give me advice if you don't look like what I'm trying to look like. Sorry.
That's a good point. That's a good point, Zon. Oh my gosh.
And I did find that some of the people who were like, you're too young, they either had like if you are ever one of the people who said that we were too young, I don't necessarily mean that your relationships won't work, or I'm just saying that the majority of people who said it were not in a boat that I'd like to be in, alright? And sometimes people are well-meaning but misguided. Right, I'm done. Alright, babe, what's the next reason?
The next reason is that we really wanted to spend more time with each other, and we were coming up to a phase of life where we were talking so much about life, and he's my very best friend, and I never wanted him to go home. And you know, he was moving to Mobay, I was in Kingston at the time, and it was just so hard to spend time. And the dates, the 1 hour dates, and the going out in public for that never used to quench me anymore. I wanted to be sitting with you at 2-3 a.m. talking about the traveling that we want to do and making plans for the future. But of course, if you're not married, that limits you a lot.
Yeah. How do you justify? I'm in Mobe, she's in Kingston. How do we? Yeah, we want to spend time with each other. How do we justify spending a weekend with each other or spending a night with each other when you're not married? You know, so you're yearning after that kind of companionship. You know that this is the person that you want to commit your life to, but you still can't justify it outside of marriage. And you know, perhaps that's an indication in the direction that you should go. You know, that's a cue that we took. All right, guys. Number 3. It made financial sense. I just wanted us to shout out 2 people real quickly.
Yes.
A cousin of mine, Roma Dawkins Ellis, she's always in the comments. And also Auntie Joss, like our friend from in the Caribbean here.
Always in the comments.
Auntie Joss is just always there and she's so sweet. Yeah,
so big up, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for being a part of the family. Right, back to the video.
It made financial sense. No, I'm not saying to get married to somebody for purely financial reasons, but I am saying that when all the other stars align and you're asking yourself the question, and perhaps the financial reason can also be a contributing factor. Why pay 2 different rent? Why create 2 different grocery bills? Why, you know, basically live parallel lives when we could be living a life together, contributing towards our mutual financial goals? You know, we want to get to financial freedom. We want to have freedom of time. We want to only work because we want to work and not because we have to work. You know, both of us want to get there, and we'll talk more about our financial goals later on in, you know, in the series, I suppose. But we knew that that's where our headspaces were, and we wanted to push forward together. It's a lot easier to do that when it's 2 people doing it together instead of 2 separate trains, you know?
For sure.
And also, why would you want to make 2 separate investment lines and try to create 2 separate businesses? Like, when you can see clearly that both of you want to spend the rest of your lives with each other, and this is not a fleeting decision that you made after one date, you know?
And I find it interesting that you say that, because I know why. People are innately selfish. And this selflessness for my thing and my way, it's not something that's ingrained in a lot of people, especially when they don't have the love of Christ and they don't understand what it really means to have a godly relationship. So when God comes into no, babe, but it's true. Like, when God comes into a relationship, you know, and it is and you guys can agree with us or disagree, because there's a difference between a godly relationship when God comes in versus when God is not in there. You have to fend for yourself. And from the legal side, you know how I feel about stuff like prenups, which we don't have a prenup. If somebody asks us our opinion, we don't have one of that. Matter of fact, we don't have none to put on the prenup. But all I'm saying is that it's from a perspective of, I need to fend for myself, because if I don't, nobody else will. And submitting to you as a woman in a world where there are so many women who have been, you know, stumped over and mistreated and ill-treated is something that I had to learn through the love of Christ, and knowing and trusting Him that He brought you to me for the reason of uplifting me and to help me with my spiritual growth. It wasn't an easy submission. You get me?
You get why I just had to marry her? Like, how could I miss out on all that wisdom? But guys, it's true though. It's true, and thanks for that, babe, and thanks for not being selfish, you know. And I'll try my best not to ever be a selfish human being, cause
and we're not perfect, guys, because we have had different, not arguments, but different disagreements. We disagree on a lot of things, especially on financial stuff, you know. It's based on how you manage money and how I manage money, and a lot of that is coming from the backbone that humans are innately selfish and self-preserving. And I love that you have that point about the fact that it financially makes sense, because one of the biggest arguments I hear about people not wanting to get married early is because them not reach where them supposed to reach yet. Or for my international people, they're not at the stage where they want to be yet.
I feel you. And I think that stems from the idea that you should first create for yourself, you know, a life where you're fully self-sufficient, you know, you're out on your own for how long, and then you have a fully formed life basically, and then the other person has a fully formed life, and then you bring the two fully formed lives together. But I actually think that breeds selfishness or propagates selfishness, because when I've worked solely for everything that I have, and you've worked solely for everything that you have, I can understand you not wanting to share with me. I mean, not justifying it, but I can see where it comes from. But when we decide instead to build our life together, you help me and me help you, and
me help you and you help me and you
help me and me help you.
Check up.
Hey, come on. I'm sorry, guys. We are not like. Actually, that's not true. We are most times like. But
hey, that the body.
But when we work together, you see like how we make a good rhythm, make a good rhythm together. I really think that that's how God had designed for us to work, you know, for man and woman to work together and create a life together. I don't think we were intended to create a whole life on your own, and
but sin, babe.
But sin.
And that comes to our other point. We say teamwork.
Teamwork makes the dream work, guys.
We hear about it all the time, that two heads better than one, or two heads, or maybe I try to translate nowadays, you know, because I know my friends from Kenya, I don't want them to say they can't understand me, but two heads are better than one really means that when you put two heads together, it makes more sense than when you have one person always having to think about it.
Yeah, and it really goes a far way when you're trying to create a business, you're trying to set up yourself in life, and you know, unless you're very keen on doing like outlandish things that you don't think anybody else would want to sign on with you for, generally speaking, things work better when you have more than one person working on it.
Exactly, and that's why business have business partners.
Yeah.
And that's why churches are, you have a body and everybody has their part to play. But when you think about adulting practically, guys, even how to get a mortgage, even how to run a household, when you look at our budget now as a couple versus what
like
our budget
it makes
used to
so
be,
much more sense. When you look at Zara's budget and Xaundre's budget, and you add the two of them together, it's a mind-blowing figure.
Enough money.
But when you look at Zara and Xaundre's budget, it's more like,
this
this look like it's doable. I mean, Zara tastes kind of high still.
But
you know, she only eat jasmine and basmati rice. She don't like parboil.
Squad, tribe, people. Who has the expensive taste in this relationship? Everybody knows the real answer here.
I want snapper fillet.
I want snapper,
and she wants salmon because I mean she really does like salmon.
I do like a good cut of salmon.
I actually do prefer snapper over salmon, but she loves a good salmon.
Yeah, I love a good.
And guys,
when my husband makes it,
mean,
you make a mean
salmon, guys. Anyway.
Make a mean.
Alright, back to the matter at hand. So teamwork really makes the dream work, and we knew that we made a good team together.
Yeah, we do.
Like, look at high school.
Yeah, we've always been on the same team, even when we're not friends. So in high school, we were head boy, head girl.
Debate president and secretary.
Red Cross president and vice president.
Yeah.
I was in student council by myself. You were in cadet by yourself.
Yeah, those are two things that we did separately. But then you still helped me with cadet stuff, and I still helped you with, well, to a lesser extent, to be fair. But she helped me. Alright. And then we went to high school, and it was Torres Cell Group.
University, I mean.
Yeah, right. We went to university, Torres Cell Group, and Torres Debate Society. It's like,
and then all ADFEL events, and the ADFEL people, we see you guys. They always put us on the same committees. Because we work well together, so we always knew that we would. And so if you are in this stage of life and you're thinking about this and you work together with your partner, imagine what adulting and life in. I know the more they don't make no sense, but just imagine what life can be when you and your person buck head or
put head together.
Connect heads together. That sound like English?
Like Craniopagus twins.
Xaundre, being a nerd.
Honestly, guys, we were already sure that we wanted to spend life with each other. Like, why delay the inevitable when God is already pointing in that direction and all the stars are aligning, and you and God talk about it, and you're already sure that this is the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with, the question just keeps on coming up. Why wait? Like, what are you waiting on? And the truth is, there are a couple of things that you may be waiting on.
Money.
Money
Is one of the biggest things.
Ones.
Yeah, or they can't afford a wedding.
They can't afford a wedding. And I mean, weddings are expensive.
Weddings are really expensive.
I'm not saying, you know, just go and throw all your $4,000 savings on a wedding.
Yeah.
But I am saying though that if God calls you to it, He will bring you through it.
I think you would have said before that poor people get married all the time.
Oh, I remember saying.
Yeah, and I think the main issue we had was because we were struggling with these things. We're struggling with spending time away from each other. We're struggling with the whole waiting period, because of course we did say we're young, we're fresh, we're in love. Of course, sex and waiting for sex, there's going to be an issue, it's going to be a struggle, and we were in a phase where we were saying, well, we're almost married and stuff like that. So that was also a struggle.
And then it now brought up the question, you know, what is more important? You know, having your dream wedding after you've saved up all this money and then just spend all of it on one day, or making sure that you're in the will of God. And that's a question that we had to grapple with. And honestly, guys, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, because when, as the guy, you feel like you're asking your future bride to give up on a dream that she's had, is a hard ask. And when, as the girl, you feel like you have to give up on a future dream that you had, then it's not an easy cookie to swallow.
So we did the math, and the math was mathing.
Yeah, the maths was really mathsing, guys. Like, when we looked at it, it made sense, but it's not the maths that made us, you know, make the decision initially.
The maths was mathsing. The maths. Hey, the maths. The maths. Mathsing. The maths.
This could be a social song. You just need to speed up.
The maths
was mathsing.
The mathsing. Mathsing.
Back to the story.
Yeah. I love you.
I love you too, baby girl.
I love talking about this.
Yeah. Guys, moving to a new city by yourself, when the love of your life is about 4 hours in the other direction.
It was hard.
And unnecessarily so. That I think that's the point. Like, you see that it's an unnecessary sacrifice.
Just for the ups, maybe.
Yeah. You didn't want people to say you know, rush it, but you know what, guys? Say what you wanna say. We don't care. Like, we just need to know that we're pleasing God, and once we know that we're pleasing God, it's all good. You know, let the trolls come.
Exactly. And I think that would be the biggest piece of advice I have to give to any young couple who is thinking about marriage, is that a lot of your decision will be hinged and bent on what others have to say. But the truth is, they got the opportunity to live their lives the way they want to live it. And sometimes they might think that they're helping you, but the truth is, you don't really need a lot of opinions. You just need you know, guidance from a few people. If you have people who you think are good, godly people, and you went to them and you tell them what your predicament is, and they said to you, say, you know, I think maybe you guys should learn each other more, or, you know, I prayed about it, I paused, because it's not just, sometimes you can't just tell your opinion, you know, because not all the time your opinion is really off God, because you never studied. Like, somebody messaged me today and asked me about my opinion on something, and I was like, I don't have an opinion on it. I generally just don't have an opinion. So sometimes when people come to you, you also have to stop and say, give me some time,
let me think about it.
Let me pray about it, and let me ask God to help me to guide this couple, whether it is a younger couple or it is an older couple. So all in all, just remember that there is only one person that you need to please, and that's God.
And again, guys, we're not suggesting that you should make a hasty decision and just run into marriage. That's not what we're saying. It's a decision that requires a lot of thought, a lot of prayer, and seeking godly counsel. Now, to be fair, we also, well, me more than Zhara, because when I was getting ready for the engagement, I called everyone. I did not confuse who I was asking their blessings and who I was just informing of the decision that I have made. And realize that for some people, you really do need to ask their blessing. Like mommy. I couldn't just go. take her from her mother, you know. That'd be stealing, you know.
Yes, so that's a conversation I think we really needed to have done, and I really hope that some young couple benefits. If aunties, I know that you guys watch this a lot, share it with your church youth group, share it with a young couple, especially somebody who you're sure you know who are getting married or who are interested in getting married, because I think that this conversation is a conversation that will add a lot of value. And if because we're not experts, we share as we learn. So if there's anything else that you guys would want to add to the dialogue, feel free to drop that in the comment section.
And you know, if you're one of the people who out there telling people that they're getting married too young, ask yourself the question, is this two people getting married at a young age, or is this a hasty marriage? There's a difference, and it's very important for you to realize that, so you can give godly counsel, you know. And very often we get carried away by clouding other people's situation with our own personal experiences. So it's really helpful if you can try to be as selfless as possible and see it from their eyes, perhaps. And honestly, you also need to go and seek God's counsel before you start giving people your advice. And having said all of that, let me just say, this is not personal advice for anybody.
This is not personal
to go
advice.
And get married or not get married. For that, please go and do pre-engagement counseling.
Exactly, it's just our opinion. So thank you so much, guys, for joining us on this episode of
Adventures of XYZ.
Bye.